Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy and welcome back to another episode of SeaBed. So last time we did all the little tips that we unlocked and now we are back to the main story. So let's jump right back in. I felt a bit sleepy as I finished reading that short passage. The butterfly was still flapping its black wings and was now flying in the direction of the closed window. I thought it would crash into the glass, but it slowed down just a few centimeters before that, instead landing on the curtain. Tired? Or perhaps it was sulking at the fact that it couldn't escape. Heh, just chill a little. I'm tired too. Besides, it wouldn't be nice of you to leave without even saying a word to Mayuko, now would it? You see, in human society, debts need to be repaid, even if it's just food and shelter. Don't you think that should apply to butterflies as well? It seemed as though the insect had shaken its head. It had its gaze fixed on the white vase, specifically the pupa still attached to a leaf of the camphor tree branch. Well, I guess your situation is a bit different. The butterfly remained still, seemingly considering my words. Perhaps it really was sulking about not being able to go outside. But why did I assume it wanted to go there to begin with? I gave it another scrutinizing look. Well, I can understand how you feel. I imagine it feels a lot better to fly in a wide open space while surrounded by fresh air. There are flowers with honey you can eat, and if you're lucky you might even find someone to have children with. The butterfly slowly spread its wings, as if trying to say that I didn't need to state the obvious. But it's not all fun and games outside. If you're unlucky, you might get eaten by a bird or get trapped in the web of a spider. If it rained, your wings would get moist and you'd have trouble flying. You'll face no such dangers in here. The butterfly remained still with its wings spread. Perhaps it was thinking. Or maybe the way that it showed off its blue lines on its wings meant to convey agreement. I'll bring you a fresh flower if you stay. That's the least I can do. The butterfly slowly closed its wings. Or would you rather go outside after all? It spread its wings again. I thought I gave it a pretty good deal, but the butterfly didn't seem all too fond of it. Okay then. But you'll still have to wait until Mayuko comes back. I glanced out the window. The evening sky, with hues of yellow, crimson, and purple mixing into its canvas, loomed above the gentle mountain ridge in the distance. I'm sure she'll be back before dark. I placed one of my hands on the notebook and rested my chin on the other. Humans tend to stay with each other, but what about butterflies? I returned my gaze to the butterfly. Maybe you'll change your mind come morning. Sanai said that it gets comfortable staying in the same place once you get used to it. The butterfly remained completely still with its wings spread. Perhaps it was waiting for the window to open. It seemed like it wanted to soar the high skies. I remembered how I likened Sanai to a fish before drifting off to sleep once. Although fish swam in the sea while butterflies soared through the sky. Besides, back then, I was thinking about which place Sanai had adapted to, rather than where she wanted to be. I remembered how she asked me if I wanted to leave. It was nice to eat snacks with Mayuko, read books with Sanai, and make fun of Kozue from time to time. The Christmas party had turned into a fond memory. If I kept arranging events like that from time to time, I figured I'd never feel bored. I was certainly satisfied enough with this place to recommend it to the butterfly. Sanai said that she lost any reason to go outside. I felt like I could understand what she meant now, more so than back then. I touched my ears. Maybe I'd soon be able to breathe underwater as well. I felt like I would if I remained in this place for a while longer. I turned into a fish, not a butterfly. I was slowly getting used to the serene life in here, that much was certain. Was that a good or a bad thing? I didn't know whether I wanted to stay here or leave. No wonder I couldn't understand the butterfly. It stayed still with its wings spread out. I fell in thought, gazing at the dazzling blue stripes on them. Staying here would be the easiest choice, but it would require little effort on my part and contain no risks, but I looked at the darkening sky, feeling my head growing heavy. I raised my chin from my palms, lowered my hands on the table, and instead placed my left cheek on them. Finally, I dug my fingers into my hair to support my head. This position was the result of many years of experimenting and research. It had served me well since my school years, and continued to be of use ever since I joined society as a working adult. Though it was easy on the neck and the arms, it would mess up my hair, so there still was some room for improvement. I closed my eyes, savoring the comfort it provided me with. My exhausted body was on the verge of drifting off to sleep. However, much like last time, a butterfly and Sanai in the form of a fish appeared in my mind's eye. I can't believe I'm actually treating this butterfly business so seriously. Perhaps I relaxed a bit too much. It wasn't like me to doubt myself or be tired to begin with. I felt the sensation of the notebook's leather cover against my skin. The Takako I read about was always energetic and pursued her goals straight as an arrow. Her mind was clear, and she always knew what she wanted. She might have been a bit of a dunce at times, but it was all very endearing. Reading through the diary gradually made my memories return. It had things I had forgotten and things I didn't know at all. Those passages contained mere glimpses into my life, but remembering them brought back other memories as well. They made me recall certain episodes of my life in striking detail, right down to the various scents I experienced on a given day. And whenever I thought back to my feelings from those times, I'd feel a smoldering fire come back to life deep within my heart. Sachiko brought back feelings of anxiety and uneasiness I had long forgotten. My memories of her warmed and brought the rusted mechanism of my heart back to life, almost like they were repairing the missing cogs of the contraption, returning them to their intended positions. And yet, this was but a small, insignificant agitation of my heart at best. It was no more significant an action than an ant climbing upon an elephant's back, or the faint ripples caused by a pebble thrown into a pool of water. If I closed the notebook, the feeling would vanish, as if it was never there to begin with. Sanai said that the more she got used to this place, the harder it became to leave. Back then, I didn't think much of it. Yet now, I couldn't tell whether that was a good or a bad thing. I put those two on imaginary scales. The arrow continued pointing at 0, refusing to move. But that wasn't enough of a reason to leave. I want to meet Sachiko one more time before I end up stuck here forever. I was sure meeting her would help me remember everything, and would fix the ringing in my ears as well. Should I remain here or not? I might find the answer to that question if I met her. I have to see her. As I found myself lost in those thoughts, the fish and the butterfly slowly drew away from the back of my eyelids. Is this how she died? Trying to meet up with Sachiko again? I guess we'll find out. Wake up! My bedsheets got pulled away by some mysterious force. The warm morning sun burned my eyes. Just 5 more minutes! Your coffee will get cold. The hand I extended toward the source of the voice fell limp onto the bed. I can't fight gravity. Thinking that made me feel even weaker. My body is getting heavier and heavier. At this rate, I'll start to sink into the mattress and create a black hole, sucking in everything around me, light included. That's amazing. Why not pitch it to the physics conference? Anyway, quit goofing around and just get up already. We're leaving as soon as you get dressed. I don't wanna. I reached out and pulled the first thing I grabbed to myself. Sachiko fell on top of me. Aww. Opening my eyelids, I saw her black eyes staring back at me. I raised my neck slightly and kissed her lips. I was once again blinded by light as she pulled her head. and thus her curtain of black hair away from me. A moment later, she hurled her handbag at my face. They say this helps people with low blood pressure. They say that this helps people with low blood pressure. Then get out of bed already. Okay! As Sachiko climbed out of the bed and got changed, I handed her the bag resting on my knees. Your fried eggs are on the table. I love you, Sachiko. Yeah, great. Sachiko left the room. I jumped out of bed and stepped out onto the corridor. Aww! Okay, I am just awing at everything because they're so cute! Hold this for me. Sachiko handed me her bag again. She then bent her knee and leaned down, letting the slit of her skirt reveal her thighs. Her long eyebrows painted beautiful half arcs on her lowered face. Her long flowing hair slipped down her shoulders, prompting Sachiko to try and pin it down next to her ear. Thanks. She raised her face and smiled at me as she finished putting on her shoes. My vision began to clear up, dispelling my prior drowsiness. I woke up with such keen senses that I felt I could hear the very blood pumping through my veins. They are really cute, though. My god. I raised my face and rubbed my eyes, only to realize that a blanket slid down from my shoulders. I saw Mayuko sitting in front of me, sipping tea from one of the cups I brought over. Was I sleeping? You were. I see. You've got a mark here. Mayuko pointed at her cheek. I rubbed my cheek with one hand and brushed my mouth with my knuckles. You were sleeping like a baby. You could have woken me up instead of staring, you know. I was worried you'd be angry if I interrupted a nice dream. I wouldn't get angry over something like that. I told her she was free to wake me up next time. I looked around the room. It had already grown dark outside. The sweet bean jelly plate was covered up by a blue sheet with white dots. I picked up a teacup and took a sip of the cold tea. I glanced up at the ceiling, but the black butterfly from before was nowhere to be seen. A white vase with an empty pupa rested on the windowsill by the open window. Did the butterfly leave? It flew off towards the mountains as soon as I opened the window. I see. So it was courteous enough to wait for you at least. Mayuko gave me a puzzled look. I wonder what kind of species it was. I think it was a common bluebottle. So that's what they're called. I spot them around here from time to time. They're found all across Japan. Depending on the season, you might catch a glimpse of them in Tohoku or even Kyushu. You seem to know a lot about them. It's a species I'm particularly fond of. I mean, just look at how beautiful their blue stripes are. Mayuko smiled. I nodded. I like that blue color too. I remember spending an entire day chasing after one with an insect net when I was little. It flew off to the other side of the river though, so I ended up never catching it. I'm sure it was for the best for the butterfly at least. You don't think about these things too deeply when you're little though. I just remember that I really wanted it because it looked different from the swallowtail butterflies I was used to seeing. I actually spent a couple of years after that thinking I still wanted to get my hands on one. So, how did it feel to finally succeed? I was glad to see it from up close. For a moment, I felt like a child again. And that made you sniff out my sweet bean jelly I've been keeping for a later date? She pierced a piece of jelly with a toothpick. I did that before finding the butterfly. Then I imagined there was little need for the butterfly to make you feel that way. I smiled as she gave me a reprimanding look. Well, it's all right, but there are some confectionaries I'm keeping for guests, so please ask before you take anything next time, okay? Okay! You seem to have been in good spirits lately. Oh yeah! I've had no fits since that last one. If you're feeling that well, then perhaps I should assign you more duties. Ugh, this is weird. I suddenly feel very sick. Good grief. I yawned and took another sip of the tea. Are you still sleepy? Mayuko smiled at me after eating a piece of jelly. Can't say I'm fully rested, to be honest. I had a dream too. You were talking in your sleep. Ugh, really? What kind of dream did you have? It was from the time that I was living with Sachiko. Mostly just the dull little things like frying eggs in the morning or seeing her off at the entrance as she left for work. I tried remembering more, but by the time I woke up, the whole thing had slowly melted away like sugar in warm water. So she's the one you lived together with? As I answered with a quick yep, Mayuko seemed to fall in thought for a moment. Do you still love her? I don't know. I loved her more than life itself before we separated, but we're not together anymore. I can't tell when she's not around. I see. Mayuko appeared to have fallen into thought again. Curious to learn what she was thinking, I strained my ears, almost expecting to hear her thoughts. I picked up a teacup and pretended like I was inspecting the bottom. I felt like I could hear the flapping of butterflies' wings. I stole a glance at Mayuko's face. She looked back at me, her eyes a bit narrower than usual. I wished it was a look of jealousy, or merely an attempt at my expression. Unfortunately, it was nothing so lighthearted. It was the look of someone cornered by something. She looked just like Sachiko when she wanted to discuss something serious. In moments like that, I too would take care to watch what I'd say. Sachiko would always wait until I found the right words, no matter how long it took. It's gotten pretty cold, hasn't it? Said Mayuko after a long silence. Like a fish leaping out from beneath the calm, mirror-like surface of a lake. Mayuko stood up, walked to the corner of the room, and flipped the switch on the electric heater. Its two pipes lit up in red. After confirming the amount of remaining water on the panel, she walked to the kitchen and returned with a cup, the contents of which she poured into the tank. I thought about Sachiko as I observed her. I had spent most of my life with her. I tried remembering the exact number of years. I met her 23 years ago. I could still remember that quite vividly. The moment I met her near that sandbox when I was just 5, and when we finally separated. When we separated, I tried remembering how exactly that went down, but I couldn't recall a single detail about it. It was like all my thoughts led me to a blindingly white room. But she was still someone I spent most of my life with. That alone was definitely true. And the diary I had now proved it. In all of the entries, I was always by her side. The more I thought about it, the less I could understand why we ended up parting ways. Ooh, we are getting closer to the answer that we're all looking for, which is, why did the two break up? What happened? I met Kozue's eyes as I was about to pick up the stool in the lobby. What are you doing? She asked. Nothing. What about you? Same here. Kozue had my hairpin in her hair. Did you come to show off that hairpin? Kozue raised her eyebrows in surprise. Why would you even think that? Oh! Anyway, you came at the perfect time. If you're not too busy, can you help me out a little? Kozue's gaze traveled to the grandfather clock. I heaved the stool onto my shoulder and gestured for her to come closer. It won't take long. I ascended the spiral staircase. well, whoops. Okay, hold on. We'll finish this part. Kozue followed me in silence. I stopped in the middle of the stairs, placed a stool below one of the lights, kicked off my slippers, and climbed on it. Alright, now I am all out of time for this episode, guys. So, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. By subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!